Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to the first of my Top 5s BRM edition extravaganza. I don't know, I do these after every single set. So I'm going to do my standard ones, which is top 5 underrated, overrated, not best, worst, because most people do those. And I might do, I'm not sure yet, because I'll need to compile some information first. But I might do top 5 decks coming out of BRM and what they got from BRM compared to before that. And top 5 decks that kind of fell off a bit because of BRM. I might end up doing that, but that'll take a little bit more time because I need to kind of look at the metagame a bit more in depth to do that. But anyway, so before we get started, this is the top 5 underrated list first. I'll be doing overrated after this one. But the meaning of underrated, now this is something that I need to clarify. If something's on this list, it doesn't mean that it's very good. It just means that compared to the hype it got before, it's way better. So, to give you an idea, with overrated, the card being good didn't actually matter when it came to being on the list, which is why things like Mech Warper was actually a honorable mention on the overrated list for GVG, because the card was hyped up to be the best thing ever and actually was okay. It was good, but it wasn't that good compared to the hype it got, so it made it on the list. In this case, some of these cards are not particularly good, but the fact of seeing any sort of play whatsoever puts them on this list. And going that theme, number 5 on the list is Nefarian. Now, Nefarian was written off as being absolutely atrocious, and he's not really. I mean, he is seeing some playing dragon decks, which I think is really cool, especially dragon decks that need some sort of draw in the late game. Now, he's not seeing a fantastic amount of play, but he was written off as being kind of useless before, so the fact he's even seeing any is a feat. He did actually balance out a little bit with the stream that Blizzard did before BRM launched, which had Nefarian getting played twice, and he was very good in both scenarios. So as a result, he did get a little bit hyped up again, but not really. So the fact of seeing any play whatsoever lands him on number 5, not any higher, because it just wasn't as much of a jump as it was to the other cards on the list. Dragon Egg at number 4. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So this is not the Sludge Belcher of the set, being the underhyped card that ended up being very good. That's later in the list. But Dragon Egg was actually kind of hyped up to be the worst card in the set. It turns out it's not. It has actually seen some play, particularly in Shaman and Warrior, mostly in Shaman. There was actually a deck that made it to very high legend. I can't remember exactly where it ended up. I think it was top 10. That was playing Dragon Egg as a 2-of in Shaman. It was, I think he just called it Shaman Eggs or something. It was Nerubian Eggs, Dragon Eggs, a Haunted Creeper, things like that, and a bunch of enablers, and it worked really well. It's not as good as Nerubian Egg, but the fact that it can even see any play whatsoever kind of shows it does have some potential as a 1-drop, at least when it comes to Shaman, because with Flame Tongue Totem it's very good. You get your 2-power guy, then you get another 2-power guy, so it's pretty handy in that scenario. Same with Defender of Argus. Not to the same extent as Nerubian Egg, but, I mean, you get your egg curve, Dragon Egg, Nerubian Egg, into Flame Tongue Totem or something, and then that's a very strong opening. On top of that, it never gets silenced. So, as a result, Dragon Egg, it's not very good, but, again, with Nefarian, the fact of seeing any play whatsoever far contradicts the amount of hype it actually got. As I said, a lot of people thought it was the worst card in the set, myself included. I think there might be a quote about me saying that in the set review. Anyway. So, Dragon Egg is actually not abysmal, but it's not that good. But the point is, it's seeing some play in some niche decks, which I'm completely okay with. Alright, so the next 3 are all non-constructed staples, but they're seeing a decent amount of play considering. Druid of the Flame. Druid of the Flame is one of those cards that, because it's a Druid card and we're kind of used to Druid class cards in newer sets absolutely sucking, everyone wrote it off immediately. I wrote it off. Some of the people that did set reviews wrote it off as being just because it's not quite as high on the curve as things like Spider Tank or Blackwing Technician, things like that. But as it turns out, Druid of the Flame did see quite a bit of play, especially in the earlier wings, and the reason for it was because it's a stable 3-drop for Ramp Druids. We didn't think about that. It's a stable 3-drop for Ramp Druids. The 2-5 stops aggro, and the 5-2 is better in the late game, so it was actually a very decent card, and was surprisingly effective, and it was quite impressive actually, considering how written off it was by almost everyone really. No one really thought this was an astonishingly good card or anything, or even a decent one. But I think part of that is because we're so used to Druid class cards being really bad. I mean, GVG has some of the worst cards in the set of Druid cards. Then you had Volcanic Lumberer, which was pretty terrible. Poison Seeds was bad, apart from Mill Druid. And we kind of expect Druid cards to be bad nowadays because the base set cards are so ridiculous. I mean, you got like Innervate, Ancient Allure, Wild Growth, things like that. So generally they don't release powerful Druid cards for balance reasons. So whenever they do release something that's actually fairly decent, we kind of just miss it. So I'm definitely gonna keep my eye on the Druid cards a bit more when the next set comes out, because this one really did sneak under the radar from pretty much everyone. But has actually been decent and has seen a decent amount of play. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Volcanic Drake. I can almost hear Dapper in the background. But actually, to be fair, it saw play in a deck which I did say it could see play in. But Volcanic Drake turned out to be way better than I was expecting in general. I didn't think it'd be that good, but two things happened. One, Control Warrior dropped off. Because Grim Patron Warrior became a thing. So there's Deathbite is still running around, but it's not used in a completely controlling manner anymore, which means Volcanic Drake is better. On top of that, the Dragon synergies turned out to be extremely powerful, but the Dragon's not so much, so Volcanic Drake has been seeing more play there, which is actually kind of funny because when it was spoiled, that's what I was thinking about, was if you pick a Dragon, I guess this would be it. But by far, in my opinion, the deck it turned out to be best in was Hunter, which was, in my defense, was the deck I thought it would be good in. And Spark talked about this a lot as well, the guy, Deck Architect, that makes a lot of Hunter decks, actually. But I've been playing Volcanic Drake in the Hunter list this season that I played last season. I subbed out a Houndmaster for it. And it's been very good. Generally it costs 4, but sometimes less. Unleash into Volcanic will sometimes give you a 1 or 0 cost Drake, which is really kind of crazy in a deck that's relying on tempoing your opponent out to kill them before they can stabilize. So just getting the extra 6/4 is actually fairly noticeable. It's also the only deck I've played with Volcanic Drake where you can play it and it doesn't die, because one, you have freezing to protect it, and two, they have to use all their removal on everything else, so sometimes a 6/4 is good enough and we'll just kill them. So Volcanic Drake has actually been decent. It's been better in the decks that people weren't expecting it in. I think everyone expected it to be good in Hunter. Yeah, I think everyone saw that coming, right? Everyone kind of expected it to be good with Unleash. However, it's been a lot better than people were making it out to be, myself included, in other decks, which has been a decent surprise. I wouldn't exactly put it in top 5 or anything. I think it might be barely in top 10 BRM cards. But the point is, playable and pretty decent. Oh, Grim Patron, you are a troll. Now, first of all, Grim Patron has managed to single-handedly make Warrior the Cancer class, which I find hilarious, because Warrior has been this really, really not fair, but kind of deck that you can make fun of people that play it because it takes like 15,000 dust to make. That's not even an exaggeration in some cases. But now there's a budget Warrior deck because Grim Patron costs 0 dust, and he's the namesake of the deck, the Grim Patron Warrior deck. Now the funny thing is, when I reviewed this, I was thinking, oh, it could be fun. And when most people reviewed it, it's like, terrible card. No one's ever going to play Grim Patron. The funny thing is, Blizzard actually predicted a deck for the first time in their entire existence. First of all, Good job on that one. It means you're going somewhere. That may or may not have something to do with the fact that they have an ex-pro player on their team right now, which is Reels, for anyone who didn't catch that. But Grim Patron was played in a warrior deck in the pre-release stream, and it completely annihilated him. The funny thing is that when Grim Patron came out, it was a gimmick deck for like a week, and then more cards came out, and people started figuring out good lists, and now suddenly it's like a tier 2 or even tier 1 deck, depending on who you ask. That's insane. I'm sorry. For a card that everyone thought was like between bad or just entertaining in my case, that's insane. Like that's why it's at the top of this list. The fact that it managed to basically go past everyone and just become one of the better cards in the set. Because it's a threat on its own. You just play Death Bite, attack with it, and then play Grim Patron turn 5, attack with it again, and most classes can't deal with that. They have a 3-2 and a 3-3, and you can't kill both, really. Death Bite just removed your big threat, and you have to kill both of them in one hit. So Grim Patron has actually turned a lot of matchups around. It's good against Paladin. That's funny. Grim Patron, the card itself, is good against Paladin. Considering how bad Warrior is against Paladin, it actually helps out a lot. The other time that I've seen Grim Patron is in Mages. Not so much anymore, but it has happened. Getting a Patron Unstable Portal on you is just disgusting, because they play it for 2 mana, and then just ping it. And now they have a 3-2 and a 3-3, and they can ping it again, and ping it again, and ping it again, and you just die. So Grim Patron has been very, very good. I do have one complaint about the card, though. The stupid sound effect when you get a guy from the effect. Now, let me explain here. So, I think it's hilarious. The everyone get in here is really funny the first 15 times you hear it in one turn. But after that, it's kind of annoying to hear the same sound effect over and 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 over again as he slowly kills you with 3 attack creatures. So that is a minor complaint. That's probably why it's become the cancer of ladder. Displacing Hunter, which I find is insane because the Hearthstone community really hates Hunter decks. But it's displaced Hunter as the cancer deck because of the sound effects. Let's be honest here. I think people just hate listening to everyone get in here over and over and over again in one turn. But Grim Patron has been a nice surprise and has actually done what they've been trying to do with Warrior for ages, which is shift the deck away from 15,000 dust worth of legendaries to make it a viable deck. There is now a budget Warrior deck. And, well, fairly budget. But the point is that you can build a Warrior deck on a budget that would make most decks normally. You don't have to pay 3 times the cost just to play Warrior. But they didn't kill the other control deck. I mean, you can still play it. You can, I think over time, Grim Patron and Control Warrior, which is the Legendary Warrior, or Wallet Warrior, as some people call it. The point is, you can switch between them, and depending on the metagame, one will be better than the other, but both options are there, which means playing Warrior is not something that's reserved for people who have spent hundreds of dollars getting packs. That's basically... That's basically why Grim Patron is actually a pretty decent design. I'm happy that it turned out to be much better than people expected. Now, there weren't actually any honorable mentions here because BRM got a fairly neutral response in terms of hype. A lot of cards weren't really underhyped, they were just kind of neutral. And there weren't... I think there were more cards that were overhyped than underhyped. So... yeah, no honorable mentions in this case. That might be on the overhyped list, and I will get that up probably tomorrow. We shall see. Depends on how many top 5 lists I end up doing. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or just want to yell at me for getting something wrong, which people love doing, put it in the comment section below. But as for now, this is Jotto, signing off.